middle belt to also say anything that belongs to us. Like we have Minister of Steel now. If they are now want to give Minister of Steel to another person who is not from middle belt, that will now say no, we want this.
Yes.
People, so that's what I'm trying to say. So that we should also be conscious.
What CSO also raised against the petroleum ministry.
Right.
How can we have Henneken,
and the gas person?
And we also had a similar situation during Buhari's administration. So what is now giving rise to, as in people from that zone alone, they are the one now mandated to head.
You know, when I saw that Abubakar Bremo. You know, if you look at that name, if you look at that name, it looks like northern. As I said, no, we have to look at it critically. That person is actually a Niger Delta. I mean, yes, a Niger Delta person. But for me, I think it's quite wrong for me to say what is national. We must domicile it to somebody that's in that state. That would tend a great danger going forward, because that simply means people of that environment will now start determining
having sense of entitlement.
Right.
Yes.
And perhaps let's even look at Niger Delta historically. They have been having people from there. What have they done? That's the question. So I want us to look at this
Niger Delta zone. You know, it's they didn't assign any ministry.
I know
they told us that it was now under presidency, so it's no longer going to be a ministry, which the Niger Delta people brand that like Pandey, a social
you know, I actually supported Tinubu's decision. You know why? Because you have NDDC already.
Yes.
And they are also doing the same thing. So if you look at NDDC and Ministry of Niger Delta, they are doing the same thing. That means they are just duplicating, because the minister will be supervising that NDDC. So what's the essence?
Exactly.
So, but since they are agitating, because we must appreciate their calmness over time.
And that of the petroleum was the let's raise the objections to that how come you are not making it look as if is the entitlement or the prerogative of those from that zone to head petroleum. Because that's also what played.
That's another thing. Now we have begun to find petroleum products, oil across Nigeria. So we must go beyond looking at it from one perspective. So it presents danger in future that somebody who does not belong to an area, you will not give. I want to say this president is very cautious, which is very, very good.
Yes,
we want to increase our barrel of production in terms of crude oil. So we want to be cautious that anything that will reduce the output is going to jeopardize and have negative externality on the economy. So I think that's why. But on the issue of the Nigerian students, I joined them to canvass for that too. Now, because when you say Ministry of Youth, we always think Ministry of Youth should have somebody who can have that thing. Because I must tell you, just like when I already from leadership some time ago, where a chronicle Gen Z, Melina, and all these our elders. So we must look at who can actually serve the youth. We must think like the youth to actually serve them. We are in a tech age now, and we want to assume that it is only those people in the youth environment that can easily understand our trajectory and what we are thinking about. Perhaps if you look at our strengths in Nigeria, it's even the youth. So if we don't maximize it by putting somebody who can understand the language of the youth. So I want to support that. It's a good idea. But by and large, like I said earlier, I want to see this president and president that are listening. Because if you see now, he has also initiated this presidential initiative on CNG. You know, if you remember, we always canvass here that the first thing we think he should have done is to have a CNG committee that will make sure that CNG is available everywhere. So it appears listening, but I want to appeal to President Tinubu that please don't always put the cart before the horse. It is always good that you do the assignment first before you now bring. You have think tank now. Please always do your assignment so that you not be going front and coming back. We'll not be taking 2 steps forward and 1 step backward. So you must always work with the technocrat that will give you the advice that once you decide on it, you won't need to be going back. We'll forgive you because it's just at first 3 months or first 100 days like we usually say. So we think going forward, you will always do something that he will not have to be reversing himself over time. Perhaps the issue of floating of naira and the issue of oil and price of
no, that
oil.
is you should, I wouldn't want you to jump jump the horse, or so to speak, as they say, because that is another story for discussion after this cabinet reshuffle. Now, like leadership captured it, analysts react as NNPCL gets presidential approval for $3 billion loan. These the reports last week, the social media, even mainstream media, were awash with the fact that NNPCL got $3 billion loan from Afrexim Bank, and of course to actually show up and beef up the naira. But this has continued to generate controversy because they said the NNPCL is not gestioning its function, taking central bank's role as a monetary policy
agency.
Bank. Now, why will NNPC go beyond his reach? Does he have that mandate?
That's another thing we need to know.
At least as a political economist.
Now you have to ask me. The first and foremost, what we discover is that, because I tried to look at the genesis of that loan itself, I discovered that President Tinubu actually gave approval for NNPC to go and get that. And we are saying we are not coming back to first subsidy. We are not looking at we are leaving NNPC to operate on their own. If you are leaving NNPC to operate on their own, why are you now approving NNPC to go for that loan?
And what's he going to do with the loan?
No, you are just to pushing the. You can see the dollar now, to pushing the effect of the dollar naira effect. I think we are still not solving the actual problem, and you are taking the role of CBN, like most analysts have said, and giving it to the NNPC. Because if NNPC did not need since they said they are now independent, do they need your anything to do? And it's as if they are even trying to push in the Fed that it still look like subsidy in one way or the other. So for me,
subsidy now coming through the to the back door, because you said marketers are still, at the end of the day, you are ministers are still going. I said ministers, sorry, marketers are still going to be assessing these funds.
Right. So that's why I said that
we are at a loss.
If you recall that I made mention in this beautiful program that there should be a consideration for manufacturer and these fuel importers in terms of naira dollar, because if you don't do that, we are going to still have the same problem. But my pain is that they are through back door now, which may not last. So are you telling me that after they have exhausted this amount, what happened next? Are you going to come back to borrow, go back to borrow another one, or you now come back to CBN?
Is NNPC going to monitor these funds? Because we have a situation whereby we will have what is called round tripping. They will collect these foreign exchange.
It's round tripping now, yes,
and they will not go. They will not do that. They want to upload it.
And that's why I think the president have now had cabinet. They should always juxtapose and measure the implication of what they are doing. I believe this money should have been channeled to modular refinery, bring the refinery on board, focus on one. Because if we still go do this, it still amounts to nothing. Because it's when in the long run, that money will be exhausted. That's it. So that still simply means you are bringing subsidy through back door. But I think, for me, going forward, government still need to come back and consider a particular window for this fuel importation and fuel and the manufacturing sector, because that's just what you have just done now.
No,
so it's better you do it in a better way that will be
less than 100 days. And the president did say that by December we should have at least one refinery working. Now, NNPCA is not giving us a breakdown of that. It's not even letting Nigerians know, giving it, this is where we have reached, this is where we are in the turnaround maintenance of our refineries. Do you think now borrowing money to go and support export is in the best interest?
I have cautious optimism. I have very big cautious optimism about our refinery coming on board, because you recall that the president up till now had never on its own comes out to tell us that this is the status or this is the state of the things. It's only when our NUC and TUC and NLC got to meet him and asked him directly. So I don't think there's serious preparation there. However, the major turnaround is for Port Harcourt. The other one, Kaduna and Warri, is not that major. So they are not telling us what is. So I think now that we have minister, like from today on, we expect that Minister of Petroleum to come on board and be giving us updates, because Nigeria want that update so that we can really plan ourselves and look at. If not, this problem is going to it's going to consume us, and because all this palliative you are doing is still temporary. If you look at the basic definition of palliative, it's just a temporary measure, not that the problem will not still come. And you also see that most other countries that also look at subsidy that remove subsidy are returning them back. You can see Kenya, people go to the street and they have to Ruto have to come back. And so I think the Nigeria government should think. Yeah, I'm not saying they should come back 100%, but if it is 50%, and you can now plan yourself over it, I think that's just what we expect from them. So for today, that the minister are coming on board, we expect them to come and hit the ground running. But there's something waiting for President Tinubu speech this morning as well, because I want him to give them a kind of key performance index.
Exactly, that's what somebody my guests are already saying.
Yes, because if you don't give performance index, you understand, like for instance, we have three new ministries. We have blue economy, marine and blue economy. We also have tourism. We also have steel development. These three people these three ministers, tell them that 6 months, use 6 months to prepare, because it's a new ministry. There's a lot of strategy that need to come into their offices, their working conditions and whatever. So if you use 6 months, by the next 7 months, they should you start seeing the result. Because I want to celebrate President Tinubu for this new ministry of steel development, ministry of tourism, and ministry of marine and blue economy. You know why? This is likely to generate employment to Nigeria. Yes. So if we can generate employment through that area, it cannot be less than 20 million employment if they really harness it. So now for them, it's a very tasky assignment. The president must work with them very, very well. Because look at steel development. It's a very good one. We know that we have not even tapped that area. At all. Look at the blue economy. In fact, blue economy has a lot of things that we have not even tapped at all. And look at the 1/3 of Nigerian land is dominated by water. So what are we doing with those water? In fact, let me even shock you. Most ship that brings items to Nigeria, do you know they go empty? So we can look at that and maximize it and ship a lot of things. So I think the minister needs to do more. Perhaps he could also look at Seychelles. All these island country that are basically doing business on blue ocean. So these are the things that we need to look at properly.
All right, thank you so much. Now we are still on NNPC and it's mandate. Now when 2021 the PIA presidential this PIA Act, Petroleum Industry Act that came into or signed into law. Now, not much has been seen. Towards the twilight of Buhari's administration, he suspended some part of it and came on stream. Right now, he's on stream because subsidy has been removed. But apart from subsidy removal, we have not actually seen transparency on part of NNPC. Now, would you say that the PIA was overhyped?
I think it's overrated, and Nigeria is not actually right for most of the things that because it has been suspended over time and they are not fully taking advantage of it. But the thing is,
because NNPC's functions are still stranded in
exactly in the minute. Just I'm saying, if you look at Kiari operationalization of this agency, it's always considering federal government, which is still not bad because we have a large stake, but it's not actually operating it as expected. Yes. Why not leave? Look at the issue of borrowing money. Why not leave it for CBN to see into that area, and you look at the taking advantage? Because if you look at PI itself, I think it's maybe through this Ministry of Oil and Gas, the new ministry too, that will help us to, the new portfolio under petroleum, which has to do with gas. Maybe that will now tap more into it, because if we don't tap into it, that's our only source of foreign exchange, only source that we use to develop our country. So we must take it very. And I want to challenge the National Assembly now. This is now they need to do their oversight. How can you approve and bring this to enact this law and it's not being followed? So they also need to look at it critically and make sure that it's well implemented. I pray it will not be rubber stamp as usual. Anyway.
We just hope so, because PIA, since it came into effect, has not been able to.
You remember it took us like 12 years to really get that.
Yes, everybody felt that the PIA would be or PIB then as the was the best thing that could ever happen to Nigeria, and the big eventually came into law, that is metamorphosed to PIA, and Nigerians have not really seen the transparency in NNPC operations as expected. Now they said they will soon go to the market to sell out some shares to Nigerians. Would that also make it easier?
Yes, if you know that, I don't understand.
Because when Nigerians want to know where their money is going to, they have to be briefing, giving them
the major problem is that
annual report on that.
I don't understand our model, but we're using a Saudi Aramco model, beautiful one. You see that globally, I don't think there's one corporation that is as big and operation But the thing is that if at all we are going on the markets now, so what are we using the money to do? Because that's another thing now. If you are going until we have our in-house, because the only benefit Nigeria can benefit from this PIE, the only benefit we can benefit from NNPCL is to have our own refinery. Because when we are taking advantage of it, buying, producing it in naira, consuming it in naira, we don't have issues. Because our country side is enough. All this country is not enough to export to them. And the way I'm seeing it, if it's well structured, according to Dangote, he's coming up with a whole lot. As he said, our own refinery will be coming up, and we also give room to modular refinery. So I think if they sell that, people hold them accountable more, which is not bad. So I think if they actually sell it, there will be more accountability. The government will also always want to have the larger percentage.
But the president keeps talking about palliatives without even looking at the bigger picture, which is turnaround the maintenance of our refineries, because having our refineries work will just be the best bet. Buying fuel at reduced cost without subjecting us to all this. Is there more to eat that meets the eye that the president is not saying? Because he's not actually talking about.
For the uptime time, there is no level of palliative we can do that will solve this present problem until an expert will refine in Nigeria, sell in Nigeria, and people will now be able to buy it maybe within 200, 250. Because if you look at our economy, and that's why we always say that there is need for energy security. If you don't have energy security, your manufacturing sector cannot grow. And if your manufacturing sector is not growing, there will not be employment. If there is no employment, there will not be purchasing power will be eroded. So these are the problems that we need to look at, and this will also bring about bringing down inflation. So these are the things that we need to look at. So and my other issue is that look at our governors. They always go cap in hand to FCT. Collect like they share 5 billion and they won't look at the major issue that will allow the money to be flowing. If you have refinery, you wouldn't need all this patchy sum of money. You'd have been getting in a large sum and generating much more development in your place. So I think they should also change their priority from coming to collect, but insisting. What's their own meeting? We have NEC. We also have what's their own, whereby they come together to discuss about Nigeria going forward. I think it's very, very key. So they should look beyond collecting this patchy sum of 5. I was just looking at it. When you collect 5 billion and you collect trailers of rice, what has it solved?
Exactly.
And that money not going to be exhausted. You're supposed to have a kind of inflow that every time there will be income and you'll be distributing the income. So I think they should also change their own pattern of advising the government.
All right. Thank you so much. And now, just before we go, there's another story on leadership today that 24 days after 500 directors defy federal government's order to retire. What is happening here? Because we've been carrying reports on that when the federal government will ask them to submit their letter of retirement.
Do you know what is happening now?
What?
Every permanent secretary is fighting to be placed in a new place where it's juicy. They have look away beyond this until our president insists on, after 8 years as a director, about 500 of you should go. Yes. But now they are jostling for a better
they did that on, and they discovered that 500 directors were due for retirement.
You trust me, people say they find
way that even the NLC was quite in agreement with that. Most does not giving raise to promotion in sector because the top is always heavy. And for the junior ones that are just coming up, it's difficult. We discover that they will do promotional exams. It takes time for them to be promoted.
And that's what we always say in civil service, that the style of it is just not transparent enough. I think there should be a system that will be transparent to the whole world, whereby the day you get that employment, all your promotion stuff, so that when you are due for retirement, there will only be dodging. You know that it is clear, this is list. So the government should also find a way of listing it every month. These are the people to retire. These are the people to retire. But by the time you are saying it, they only have choice, because now you give them room to find way to dodge, either by falsification of age or year of service.
Them to,
so that's
you are saying that the government should not allow them to, that the box should stop on the PMSEX table by publishing it.
Exactly. There should be a way
for the directors
to come and retire. No, why should they should see that it is my turn to go.
Because think of it, Dr. Ali, you see some directors in some of our parastatals, and they are old, and you're wondering, these people are still here for years.
They say turn by turn. Maybe they have not exhausted their own turn. Because that's what
you pointed out that some keep changing their age.
Age and year of service. That's the two things now. Because it's either you retire by age or by year of service. So even condition of service has even come into it now. Because some people become director and they'll be 8 years in directory. So what are you doing after 8 years? Remember, it's even Buhari that even bring about that policy, but people still want to be there and say that they have not exhausted their time. So I think government should take it serious and publish these people. Publish them. Like these people you are saying, you are still keeping them doing it in secrecy. Publish their list.
Most of them are close to the PEMSEC who actually would aid them.
Well, you wouldn't blame, because she's also part of them. She's only lucky to become PEMSEC among them. However, the system, that's what we are saying. Let the system
are also affected.
Let the system be the one that handles Nigeria challenges. Not that you allow. If the institution is working very well, everything will go perfect.
Everything will go perfect. So what are we to expect? Are they going to go to court? Because we've seen some.
I trust CSO will start going to court and they'll start identifying them. I think that will solve the problem. Because if CSO really take it as a point of interest,
CSO, because we've seen that some CSOs are also compromised, and they can even start saying that where do you not expect them to go? They're also burdening the employment market.
The thing is that you always expect some to leave, but the thing is that when the voice raised, the voice of reasoning of the generality of Nigeria will speak to volume, and they will have to bow out as well. I think that's what. Let the CSO do their work. Don't say people should not go against all four. Let the two come together. It will also, by the time people say don't go, there's reason behind no go. We don't know what's the reason behind, and that will bring today itself.
It's so interesting. Now, just before we go, Blueprint has the story that Nigerians list expectations from ministers.
Right.
Today, the ministers are going to be inaugurated. So, what are Nigerians' expectations? That's the leading story on Blueprint newspaper. Now, Dr. Ali, what are your expectations? What are you expecting from these ministers? You did say that President Tinubu should have a key performance index for each of them. But how are they going to actually assess a ministry that obviously does not have some striking indices that
yes, these permanent secretary are always very good, and they are more professional
very
than even the entire these politicians that are just for policy implementation or policy making. So policy implementation, not even making, because National Assembly will do the policy making, they will do the implement. So I think they should give them key performance index. We should have service level agreement. But these are what you must achieve. For you that are old, ministry that have been old already, 3 months we must start seeing your result. For you that are new, 6 months we must start seeing your result. These are the area we want you to develop. You must, like those that are bringing money, you must generate beyond this. These are the things that they need to look like. Those that are policy implement to implement policy. Also give them. So when there is a bar, they must raise that bar beyond what is between 1 year, and 1 year you will assess them for another 2 years. And that's why I said I appreciate President Tinubu for that reassigning only. You know why? You can say that I've put them in transport already. Let me not reassign. But
just go to sleep.
He has just showed that courage that he can change any minister at any point in time. So if he can exhibit that, and they are aware, if I'm not performing well as Minister of Steel Development, I am going to be taking off the ministry. So I think that's a good one.
All the previous presidents we've had did that, except Buhari. Buhari just kept.
Just President Olusegun Obasanjo, he will always find ways to take. If I open the way, I'll have to go to another ministry to go and explore. Since you say you are very good in economy, let's see if you are good in another, is it what mine and steel or something, and or interior. So that's how we should do it. So if you challenge all these ministers, like somebody.
Okay, even Blueprint has it. It's like Tinubu, that is Nigerians. Tinubu not to pamper ministers like Buhari.
How can you have a minister that is a mediocre for a period of 8 years? And not only him, 90% of the minister, most of them are like a mediocre, and you leave them for that good 8 years. The only one you even remove is it Minister of Power or something. Was a lot of issues came before you time. So, but I think I agree. Even politically, let's even come back. Even politically, let's even look at it politically.
But in his case, you know what people said? People said that doing that, changing ministers will require effort. That Buhari never did anything that required effort.
Right, that's another thing. Even politically, let's look at performance. performance, yes, you must be able to reshuffle. Let's even look at politically. Ministerial has to see it is like a compensation. When somebody must recommend you from state and representing the state. If that person did not, even 4 years is enough for that person. Let somebody else come politically. So, but now administratively and performance-wise, let them be able to reshuffle anyone that does not. Perhaps, you know why? You know the beauty of these ministers, they are all sound. Now, if Minister of Information does not work well, you can always bring Dele Alake to come and work. You know, if Johnson does not work, and bring Alade, and then you can bring it. So that's the beauty of it. So you can read it, and they will see that they are not performing well. That's why you are reshuffling them. So, and that's good. So we cannot say we must have round peg in this round vote. Sometimes you may not say because you are a lawyer, like we have Kiamo in the aviation now, that he must be at justice. No, let him go and perform, and let him, at least by 2 weeks, 3 weeks, you must have briefed him on the status of that agency. You'll be able to take it from there. So we hope President will tell them what they need to know today as he's inaugurating them, and we expect them to perform well. 3 months to 6 months, I think, is enough to measure them.
Now, still on that issue before we go. Now, citizens want security, agriculture, education, health as top priority. But security continues to defy all solutions.
But I don't know. I was thinking by having Lagbaja that has been on field, I expect them to do something, because that thing that happens in Nigeria should not return itself in Nigeria again. It's quite a sad one. And our police too, the man said he hit the ground running, he's roaring like lion. Is that not what he said now? Yes. So we expect all that to bring to bear.
Because security has everything to bear on agriculture. Because farmers now, like we saw in one of the papers, cannot even access their farms. They cannot access.
Look at what is happening in jobs. Look at what is happening in Benue. So it's a problem. So we must make sure that we tackle issue of security head on. But I must also say this: I think Nigerian Army has done a lot. We have not seen enough from DSS. We have not seen enough from Nigerian police, because they have to do investigation and get information, you know, one way or the other, so that they can tame what's actually happened. What we see that CBN is taking the role of EFCC, taking the role of IC, PC. They should go to do ground and do their findings about what is actually causing all this. Somebody must have been planning all these things. So they should. I'm telling you, they should do more work. They should do their work of investigation. Check internally who is planning what, how are they planning it, and tame these people. Remember that CID department.
How do you call it? The soldiers that were killed, ambushed. They were ambushed.
They were ambushed now. And they must have got to know that the soldiers are coming. So we also should know their
information.
Exactly.
You will
recall that before now, when you hear CID in terms of police,
get the mole in their midst.
When you get to hear CID, you'll be scared before.
Yes.
But I don't think the term is not even in vogue anymore. Where we have a CID that will claim to be a shoe shiner, we have a CID that will claim to be a mechanic. You know, these people will go there to make sure they get information. But nowadays, it's pretty difficult, and we're in a digital age that I can easily say, hello, this is what I got to see. So you can even help the citizen to inform you, and you take action. Because by the time we inform you, you're not taking action. You are also discouraging. Perhaps these people that we are telling you about them, we get to know and come and fight the citizen that is giving the information again. So Nigeria should do more. And EFCC said, see something, say something. If you are saying something, are we secure? That is another question we need to ask. And the promise you promise that when we see something, you compensate. Are you actually doing it as well? So these are the things we need to look at going forward.
All right, thank you so much. These are the things we need to do going forward. You've heard it all from our analysts, a political economist, also a public affairs analyst, Dr. Amin Elias. Thank you so much once again for being a guest on my program. My name is Winifred Ubebo, and until we come your way again, same time, same station tomorrow, let's wish you a beautiful day. See you then. Bye.
Thank you for watching. For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 080-3688-6158. Last Word Leadership Podcast Studio. You have the last word.